So since I've become a full-on reviewing YouTuber, I've learned one important lesson. Negative reviews do significantly better than positive reviews. So what can I review negative? Cars 2. My childhood was spent loving the lamp. I spent hours upon hours in awe of its incredible original stories. Year after year, they just kept producing success story after success story. Until 2011. Cars 2 is my least favourite film of all time. And while it's not the worst film I've ever seen, it's up there, but there are worse films than it. I hate it because Pixar made it. Before Cars 2, Pixar had a perfect record to every extent imaginable. Every single one of their films had been nominated for an Oscar. Every single one of their films had been critically acclaimed. Like, look at the Rotten Tomatoes reviews I showed you earlier. All bar one have 92% or more. For any other animation studio, over 92% is their standout film. Like, take another big animation studio like DreamWorks, for example. Since A Bug's Life's release, they have had one film over 92%. One. Sony Pictures have none. But for Pixar, that's just the standard. And of course, to add to Pixar's record, every single film had made profit at the box office. Then Cars 2 comes along, and it wasn't nominated for an Oscar, it wasn't critically acclaimed, and while it did make money at the box office, that wasn't the reason it was made, because as you probably know, the reason this film was made was for merchandise sales. Before the release of Cars 2, the original Cars had already made $10 billion from merchandise sales. So of course they made a sequel. A sequel where it didn't even matter what happened in it, they just needed loads of new characters that they could turn into toys. And that's exactly what they made. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, there aren't that many new characters in Cars 2. Do you remember that scene in the film where... I doubt you do. I'd be very surprised if you've seen the film more than once. Basically, about an hour into the film, there's this huge car crash and some ambulances drive past the screen for a split second. Well, if you go to Amazon, you can buy these ambulances as toys for only £46.99. They're on screen for approximately 2 seconds. But they still got made into toys. Like, who bought the ambulance? Now, I'm not saying Pixar can't sell toys of characters they've made and designed. It makes money, so how can I blame them? I just don't understand why they didn't at least try to make this blatant cash grab of a film good. Because the plot completely sucks. So I'm gonna dig into the 3 worst things about the plot, starting with the fact they basically forgot the film was about cars. Like, at least in the original Cars, the motives were to do car things. Lightning McQueen really wanted to get to Los Angeles because he really wanted to race and win the piston cup. And the whole film was about him wanting to race, but it was also a coming-of-age story where he learned there was more to life than racing. And racing is a thing that cars in the real world are associated with. So in a film where cars are alive, it makes sense if they like racing. Then the sequel comes along and it starts by introducing the World Grand Prix, which, fair enough, is about racing. Then about 22 minutes in, the World Grand Prix just becomes this side plot to a whole secret agent story about trying to take down some mass-murdering lemon. Like, the whole Grand Prix aspect of the film is just abandoned at the climax and never mentioned again. And it just doesn't fit with Cars or Cars 3. Like, you know a film is bad when they just disregard the existence of that film in its sequel. They could have honestly called Cars 3 Cars 2, and you wouldn't have known there was meant to be a film in the middle. Honestly, when it comes to the whole Doc Hudson storyline, I think it actually makes more sense just to go from Cars to Cars 3 and leave out Cars 2. And it just leaves you wondering, why did you need... What was the point of that? Oh yeah, toy sales. Can't forget that. But seriously, it's a story about talking cars. Who thought it was a good idea to turn it into some spy story with an unrelatable, stupid Mater as the main character? And that's number 2. Mater is the worst protagonist in Pixar history. Because usually Pixar are extremely good when it comes to writing characters. Almost all of their characters have depth and aren't just all good or all bad. Like, take Woody, for example. He's the main protagonist in Toy Story, and when Buzz comes along, we feel sorry for him. But he isn't just this benevolent good guy. He fully attempts to get rid of Buzz at the start of the film. However, we understand his motives and grow with him as a character as he learns to coexist with Buzz by the end. Point is, Woody is an extremely well-written character, and almost all other Pixar protagonists are really well-written too. Even Lightning McQueen is a good character with depth. And Mater isn't a bad character, it's just he was written into the original Cars as a side character used for comic relief. And I have nothing against that. Honestly, I think he adds something to the film. That's one of the reasons why I don't dislike the original Cars or inherently dislike Mater's character. Rule number 1 when it comes to writing films: just because a character's popular doesn't mean you should make an entire film based around that character. Like, for example, I like Gerald from Finding Dory because he was a stupid character used for comic relief whose only goal in the film was to get up onto the rock with the other sea lions. I found his parts of the film funny. But does that mean that Pixar should make a feature-length film about Gerald trying to get onto the rock? And that's honestly what Cars 2 is. It's Gerald trying to get onto the rock the movie. Except worse, because Finding Nemo is a significantly better film than Cars. Which leads me on to my final point. The premise for the Cars film franchise is just stupid. It is by far Pixar's least intuitive idea. Like, toys coming to life when you leave the room? That's a creative idea. We've all wondered about that before. Or maybe it's just me. I've wondered about that before. But okay, we've at least all left our room and sat outside the door for a few seconds, only to jump back in and catch all the toys in the act of coming to life. Nope, just me again. I better stop before you guys think I'm weird. Anyway, point is, cars coming to life and living in what seems to be their own version of the human world is just stupid. I don't know, I'm not a car person, so maybe I just don't understand. But I don't even think the biggest lover of real-world cars could say this is Pixar's best idea. Like, how does it stand up against what I would say is Pixar's most inventive idea, being Monsters, Inc., giving us a creative solution to why kids believe there's a monster hiding in their room before they go to sleep? Like, in comparison, a film about cars being alive is such a weak concept. Such a weak concept, it was the first Pixar film I saw and thought, that looks kind of dumb. And I didn't even go see it in cinemas, even though lots of my friends did, because I imagine 8-year-old boys was the target audience of the film. And I am by no means the only one to think that. Most people agree that Cars is Pixar's worst idea. It is the single worst reviewed Pixar film from the 2000s by a long way. And yeah, of course that was the first one they chose to make a sequel for. Like, from all the films you could have chosen, you chose that one. It would be like them just randomly deciding to make a sequel to The Good Dinosaur in a few years' time. Except The Good Dinosaur actually has better reviews than Cars. Matter of fact, out of Pixar's 19 films, the only 2 that have worse reviews than the original Cars are its 2 sequels. I'm just stating the fact. And all this just gets me wondering, when did Pixar go from this imaginative animation studio to this money-hungry sequel factory? Did Cars 2 ruin Pixar? And I definitely think there's an argument that it did. Because since its release, Pixar has had and is having its dark age. They had their first ever box office flop with The Good Dinosaur, followed by their second ever box office flop with Cars 3. Yeah, they had their 2 first box office flops, with neither film making over 400 million at the global box office. By the end of this decade, they will have made 7 films based off older films and only 4 originals, contrasting to the fact they made 7 originals and no sequels in the previous decade. And when you look at the films they've released since Cars 2, only 2 of them really live up to Pixar's golden era, being Inside Out and Coco, with Brave and The Good Dinosaur being seen as weak Pixar films and none of the sequels living up to their original. And realistically, other animation studios like Disney Animation Studios have been making far superior films themselves, with the likes of Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia and Moana all coming from Disney Animation Studios since Cars 2. And I bet most of you watching prefer one of these 5 films to any of the Pixar films released in the same time period. Which leaves us with the question, was Cars 2 the reason Pixar started getting worse? And while there are definitely so many other factors that probably play a more important role than this, like Disney's purchase of Pixar in 2006, Cars 2's release would definitely have come as a realization to the company that can do no wrong, that they can in fact do wrong. Or should I say, create problems. Sorry. Which is why, for me, Cars 2 isn't just the worst Pixar film ever made, it's also a huge contributing factor to why Pixar isn't the animation studio it used to be. And yeah, that is all for today's video about why I don't like Cars 2 and think it ruined Pixar. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram, because you can. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking here. You can watch another video by clicking here. You can check out my other social medias in the description down below, or you can look at the ads that are right there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. It was actually Ben. Does this just not snap?